shown, Dr. Fauci and Dr. Collins have both shown that they'll get into the mud. If you don't agree with their political opinions, they'll go after you. When a person like Dr. Fauci controls $5 billion worth of money, it's not good that we have a really petty tyrant who wants to take down the people he disagrees with.
And that is the Hot Topic Buzz. That was Senator Rand Paul on Fox last night with Jesse. He has a new amendment that would remove Dr. Fauci as director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases and split it into 3 positions. One position would instead become 3. As he says, it's, quote, too much power for one person to have. Steve Forbes, your reaction.
Well, I'm always allergic to having more bureaucracies, but I think Rand Paul is absolutely right. Dr. Fauci's abused his position. It shows the need for term limits. And what they did, what he and the other guy did, the head of the NIH, in terms of the Great Barrington Declaration, was absolutely horrific. They smeared those people who dared to go against the grain of what these 2 guys recommended on how to deal with COVID. And the Great Barrington people were right. Fauci's been wrong on masks and everything else. So good to Rand Paul, and hope he succeeds.
Yeah. Oh, we haven't heard from Fauci in a while, that's for sure, Dagen.
Yeah, so why is Rand Paul, the senator, giving Fauci life when we've finally gotten a break from him? Rand Paul definitely has a beef. You know, he definitely has a beef with Fauci. They have this back and forth and, you know, in front of the public in these hearings. I understand that. The American people, in part because of Rand Paul, we understand everything that he's done wrong on the outside and behind the scenes, as Steve was pointing out. But just why are you reviving this clown when, you know, we've got other things to worry about right now? Maybe it's still COVID, you know, the outbreak, but I think hopefully he'll just go out to pasture on his own.
But Rand Paul wants to make sure this does not happen again.
Yeah, it'll happen, you know, Steve,
somewhere else. Sadly,
we haven't heard much from you, Steve, on this new world order that China and Russia want to see. Dagen's been mentioning the Middle Eastern component here, and that the Saudis have called Xi Jinping to go there. It's interesting to note what's going on with China and its support of Russia, while the Middle East apparently decides not to take Joe Biden's phone calls and instead sets up a meeting with Xi Jinping.
Well, that's why we need a counter strategy. We can beat both of them in this so-called New World Order. And part of it is to get over this anti-Trump mania they have. They dissed all the great things that are achieved in the Middle East in the last 4 years, 5 years under Donald Trump, in terms of weaning us from Iran domination in that part of the world. And so stop worrying about Donald Trump. Put an American strategy together. We did it, Marie, after World War II, and that's how we won the Cold War. Now, in this new Cold War, we have to do it again. And we can get these allies back on board, but we have to stop this pettiness and get a real grand strategy. We can beat them because we are free enterprise. We are creative. Let's unleash that creativity, and we'll leave both China and Russia in history's dust.
Steve, well, the corporate sector has to get the memo, Dagen. I mean, the corporate sector, companies wanting to sell to the 1.4 billion person population in China.
Right, and that was the point I was making not so well, not so eloquently earlier, is that all of these companies ditched Russia really quickly because it's frankly not that important to their overall global business. But will they ever do that to China? I mean, you see it here, there, and everywhere. Let's start with Larry Fink, but let's also just talk about the NBA. But Steve, watching the Biden administration, rather than leading through strength, they lead through shame. And it started with our energy sector, and they're on a 4-year apology tour, and this is where we get when we are genuflecting in front of nations that hate us and want to wipe us off the map. Russia, Iran, and particularly China.
And that's why we need leadership, which this president can't provide, and the next one will. And after the November elections, you're going to see real changes on the energy side, whether the White House likes it or not.